Hello, Gabby Turner here from Astro Hi-Fi. In this video, this is a continuation of the discussion I began about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which took place at the end of April 2024 at 21 degrees of Taurus. Of course, I'm in this video, I'm looking at how this transit is affecting you based on where it falls in your natal chart by house. I did video 1, part 1, which was a discussion of houses 1 through 6. And in this video, I'm going to be looking at houses 7 through 12. And we'll be discussing what you can expect. You probably have already been seeing some of the repercussions of this transit. But I think of like major transits like this, of the outer planets, which are the slower moving planets, especially as sort of reverberating out in time. So if you take a stone and you throw it into a pond, it's going to create these concentric circles, right, that move out in all directions. So transits can be felt in the lead up, they can be felt at the moment of the exact conjunction, and they can be felt in the aftermath of the transit. I'm trying to find the right angle here. I should have, when I bought my glasses, I need to get new glasses actually. The glare protection, anti-glare would have been nice. I have a lot of glare on my glasses. Also lots of Pisces. The sign of Pisces is encapsulated within my first house. It sort of has an obscuring quality. Anyway, so in this video I'm going to be discussing where this is falling. So think about your own natal chart. In order to get anything out of this video, you're going to have some working understanding of where your houses are, where they begin and end. According to whichever house system you happen to use is fine. I personally use a Placidus house system. You might use a whole sign house system. But which house does 21 degrees of Taurus fall in your chart? That's where the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction was exact, towards the end of April 2024. And again, I'm recording this and posting it at the beginning of May 2024, when we're still feeling the effects. And I also think, just for people who are interested in astrology, you know, we like to look at astrology to sort of know what to expect in the future. But I also think that a great purpose of astrology is understanding what we're already experiencing and sort of like, what is the meaning of it and all of that. So with that said, we're going to move into the 7th house. So if your houses are the 1st through the 6th, please go back to the video 1. I'll have it linked to in the description box. But for those of you who had 21 degrees of Taurus in your 7th house in your natal chart, I'm going to be talking to you about what types of energies you can expect, or that you may have already been seeing from this occurring in your 7th house. So first of all, the 7th house is the house where we meet others in a sort of one-on-one sense. I think often it is overly conflated with romantic relationships, as if, for one thing, those are the only kinds of one-to-one relationships that exist. You know, the 7th house also does indicate relationships like that, but it also indicates any sort of partnership with another person. It also can indicate open enemies. So again, those people we come face to face with. And how do we engage with that person? You know, the 7th house is where we understand that it's not just my needs that need to be met, but someone else is bringing their needs and interests and perspectives to the table. How do we correspond to each other? How do we relate to each other? So, you know, anyone who you have any sort of working relationship at all can be a 7th house person. The 7th house just indicates, like, how do we work that out? You know, if this is a coworker, for example, like, you know, how do we work well together? Do we not work well together? The 7th house also corresponds symbolically, the meanings of it correspond with the sign of Libra. And Libra cares about perspectives. It's an air sign, and so the 7th house as well is a place where we understand, you know, I have to be diplomatic with other people. Other people are going to challenge my beliefs. I might be challenging their beliefs, or their perspectives, you know, because the way that I'm seeing things is not going to be the way that you're seeing things. We both come from a different field of experience. We have different personalities. We have different whatever. We're different people, right? We're two different people. And even though we may have lots of similarities, there are also going to be things about us that contrast with each other. And the 7th house is where we take that, similarities and contrasts to heart. And that's how we come to a greater understanding of others and how we share ourselves with others so that they can understand us as well. Generally, in the 7th house, we are seeking peace and balance with others. But sometimes in order to seek peace and balance, we have to balance the scales in various ways. So which is why it's also the house of open enemies. At least if it's an open enemy, I know how to contend with you, right? So how do we, bring that diplomacy and learn to get along, try to see eye to eye where we do, and try to, be kind and respectful to each other in any area where we don't see eye to eye. So what does it mean for Jupiter and Uranus to conjoin at 21 degrees Taurus in your 7th house? Well, for one thing, Jupiter here is opening the doors for greater possibilities. So that's one thing. So you might find yourself connecting to people that maybe you didn't usually connect to. There is, more of a capacity to find an alliance with others. Interestingly enough, someone who has this transit happening in their 7th house is Vladimir Putin. And he also is having his Jupiter return around the same time because his Jupiter natally is in the sign of Taurus as well. But I think it's interesting because, everything that's been happening in Russia has led to some surprising, there's the Uranus factor, because Uranus will always, you have to expect the unexpected, has brought some surprising alliances and perhaps some surprising enemies. And of course, some alliances and enemies that were expected. But he's just a working example of someone we kind of know what's going on with him at a certain level, at least in terms of, world affairs. He needs allies, right? But so what can you experience? You probably have been, meeting people who are expanding your mind. I would say that. People who are expanding your mind, expanding your vision, and you're able to offer that to the other person as well. Because the 7th house, it's very like flowing back and forth, like you're giving to me, I'm giving to you, you're taking from me, I'm taking from you. But there's an understanding here, like we need to be diplomatic. Jupiter, Jupiter is very interested in beliefs. Whether it's political, philosophical worldviews, religious and spiritual worldviews. We know, obviously, that not everyone has the same beliefs as us. And this is something that's probably going to be more in your face with this transit. You're going to have a heightened awareness of, okay, there are people who I do care about, or people who I just have to deal with. And maybe I don't like them, but I have to deal with them. So we kind of have to get along in some way, find some way to shake hands. But there's an opening up of worldview. I have to consider other people's perspectives right now. I have to consider other people's beliefs. And with Uranus here, it can be especially challenging because Uranus likes to shake things up. It likes to ruffle feathers. You might be ruffling some other people's feathers right now. You might be rocking the boat simply by, expressing or even showing an interest in a particular belief system or topic of study even, because Jupiter also has to do with higher education, higher learning. Someone may see that you're interested in a particular topic and they're like, well, why in the world would you even want to go into that? Why would that even be interesting to you? You shouldn't be doing that, right? And so you'd have to explain to them or, make your case to them, that type of thing. Also, this is happening in the sign of Taurus. So there's a lot of Venus going on here. The 7th house is a Venusian house. Venus is like, wants to be nice, wants to be polite, kind, get along, right? Wants to be peaceful. Taurus also has that, desire of peacefulness, especially in the form of stability. Taurus doesn't like a lot of unsettling change. And the planet Uranus has been transiting through the sign of Taurus for some time. So you definitely have been feeling this, for whatever part of your 7th house is in the sign of Taurus. Uranus has been working here for a while. And one of the metaphors I like to use for Uranus and Taurus is it's like that drill bit that can, like one of those really big oil drill bits, for example, or any kind of mining drill or whatever, where you're taking something that's very solid and stable and immovable, relatively immovable, like the earth, packed earth, is very Taurian. It's very Taurus. It's stable. It's difficult to dislodge. And here Uranus comes along, or you could have like a meteor, right? That's very Uranian. A meteor comes along and it comes into the earth and it moves the earth. It opens up the earth, or the drill bit, or the plow in the field, right? You can see, especially with that metaphor of a plow in a field, like there are times when we need to take something that is solid and stable and shake it up. Like, we can't get in a rut in our lives. So there could be a feeling that you've been in sort of a rut when it comes to your associations with other people, how you form relationships with other people, how you interact with other people one-to-one is shaken up in some sense with Uranus and Taurus here. The most positive part of this is that Jupiter has come along now to join up with this and help you to see the silver lining and all of the possibilities. Jupiter is very expansive. It's like, let's not get stuck in our mentality and fixed on a particular motive here. Let's think of all of the ways in which this could benefit us. And with Uranus, there's a sort of futuristic impulse, like I'm thinking of the long-term vision. What do I need in my life long-term? Do I need people who always agree with me? Do I need to engage with people sometimes who do challenge me? Because I can see that in dealing with people who challenge my beliefs, it actually forces me to refine my beliefs as well so that I can present them better, right? Think about Vladimir Putin. So many people in the world hate him, and yet his goal here is diplomacy. So there's a challenge that's been presented, and because that challenge is so strong with Uranus, shaking things up, making things unsteady, then you have to rise to meet that challenge. I have to get people to understand me better now because of this transit. And I have to work harder as well to understand what their point of view is. Why are they motivated in the ways that they're motivated? Why do they want what they want? A good diplomat is going to understand what the other person needs and wants, right? Because when you understand that, it doesn't mean you become a doormat to them and you just give in. But it means, okay, I know how we can compromise, right? The 7th house is also a house of compromise. How do I compromise with people who might be shaking up my own worldview, or ruffling my feathers, or rocking my boat, forcing me to face truths, or philosophies, or political beliefs, or whatever that I don't want to face? This can also be a time when you are meeting people who are from very different walks of life from you. Jupiter and Uranus both kind of have that quality. Uranus in the sense that it's a very edgy planet. It's like, it's the planet that sort of asks us, we have to dance to the beat of our own drum, right? And sometimes that's going to be different from everyone else. And yet that can be a captivating beat sometimes once people hear it. It's like, okay, I didn't encounter that beat, that way of life, So you could be meeting people who are just from a very different path of life than you are from. And it's opening your eyes. Jupiter as well has to do with issues of like culture, people from different cultures. Like we learn, it expands our mind, right? When we meet someone from a different way of life. because that's not the way of life that we're used to. It could be people from different nationalities, people who speak different languages, people who are involved in different political parties, things like that. So I think that's basically what I have to say here for you guys. I don't know, how does that does that ring true for you so far based on what you've been experiencing? Please let me know in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and move on to house 8. All right, for those of you who have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction at 21 Taurus in your 8th house, what kinds of things can you expect? Well, the 8th house is not an easy house. So this conjunction is definitely like bringing up a lot of issues that you may or may not want to face. There are positives of the 8th house, but it is it's a house of transformation, but it's a house of transformation where we really have to go through the fire. We really have to walk across hot coals. We have to walk through some sort of circle of hell sometimes in order to get to where we're going. One of my favorite death and rebirth metaphors is that of the caterpillar. There's nothing wrong with being a caterpillar. They're cute. They have a voracious appetite for life. They're just constantly eating little leaves. They don't even realize that in eating all those leaves, they're preparing themselves. Maybe some of them do have an intuition about it, right? Maybe leading up to this transit, you have had an intuition that you are likewise needing to prepare yourself somehow for some major death and rebirth process, because it's going to be triggering your 8th house and therefore triggering some sort of death and rebirth process. So Jupiter in the 8th house on its own is going to bring up more of those issues. More reasons why you might need to build a cocoon about yourself and put yourself into a metaphorical coffin and let go of some of the old ways of being. Something has to die off right now. What Uranus is doing here, and Uranus has been transiting here longer, even before Jupiter came and met up with it, but Uranus has also been just challenging you. It could be just giving you lots of unexpected situations in life that force you to face things that feel like life or death. It could feel like I'm dying sometimes here. It could be like an electric jolt to the heart. Like it's, the positive thing about Uranus and Jupiter here is almost like, it could be like sort of reviving someone's heart. That could be literally happening. I hope that has not happened to you, but if so, there's a reason for it, right? And Jupiter is that planet that always reminds us of that. There's always a wisdom to be learned. Jupiter is the great benefic, and usually it brings about blessings that are easy to understand as blessings. But it's also the planet that helps us to understand, even when we're in trying times, when we're in difficult times, there's always some greater spiritual lesson to it. Jupiter loves to learn the spiritual lesson. That is the greatest silver lining. That silver lining is always there. So with Taurus here in your 8th house, you have this sort of mutual energy of needing to feel solid and stable, even when you are opening up to emotional situations which are naturally sort of unsettling. Things that are sort of like depth psychology, trauma, grief, loss, power and control issues are also a big 8th house problem. Understanding that some people have power over you, or you have power over other people, primarily because of resources that either you have or don't have, or that they have or don't have, or positions of power that one of you have or don't have. It's understanding we're not all on equal footing here. And this can be very unsettling, right, with Uranus here. But as well, it can give us some incredible aha moments of some incredible aha moments of how deeply connected we can be with our own souls and with the souls of others. And sometimes, like this can bring about like a real like awakening and reckoning of how the soul itself actually functions in relation to other people. We can hate, even loathe someone, and still kind of like deeply, deeply understand them. Someone can be hurting us tremendously, and we can still find that point of saying, I feel like I know what led you to become this type of person, right? Like the villain backstory type of thing. The 8th house, of course, is also a house of finances, but again, it's a house of finances where we understand our own resources are not just our own in some way. It's a house of taxes, for example. It's like understanding that all the income that we have, which is Tarian, doesn't necessarily belong to us. All of the income that other people have doesn't necessarily belong to us. And the 8th house is where we have that power struggle of like, well, I deserve access to this, or I'm going to take access to this, or vice versa. This could be a time where you just want to invest in something, or someone wants to invest in you in a way that is expanding the mind, because that's more than anything else what Jupiter and Uranus coming together to do. They're wanting to enlighten us. They're both a very enlightening, thinking outside the box, thinking, like in a broad stroke, seeing the real big overview. There's a desire to really want to dig in deep, even at a deep psychological, emotional level, and understand things at a more profound level than we ever have. So I hope that is helpful, 8th house people. I'm going to go ahead and move on. All right, this is for the people who have this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happening in their 9th house. So first of all, what does the 9th house have to do? It's a happy house. It's a house of blessings and opportunities, generally speaking. It's also, it's a house where things want to expand. We start to see more of things. We see borders becoming wider. We widen our own horizons. And Jupiter is the planet that also carries that same energy of expansiveness and wanting to broaden our horizons. Uranus is a planet that, does not want to be contained either. But it wants to be free to think independently. We can be broadening our own horizons, but doing so with in a way that is more or less accepted by society. Uranus brings those impulses of, what I want to do is more like a Tasmanian devil. Like people are not going to necessarily like what I'm doing right now. But for you, it's like this ability to sort of be enlightened in a way and think outside the box. I think it's more positively felt probably for people in the 9th house, just because it is a more positive house in general. But what this is creating for you more than anything else are like maybe unexpected blessings and opportunities for freedom itself. It's like you're breaking out of your bird cage, maybe you didn't even realize that you were in a bird cage of sorts. And now you're like, wow, like the world is my oyster. Like I can do whatever I want. There might be a desire stronger than usual to just like, let me do me, and let me do me in a way that's like a free bird mentality. I need to be a free bird right now. This, of course, because it's happening in the sign of Taurus, could be in particular related to how you make income or how you spend your money. You might decide that you want to start, I don't know, using your money on things that the people around you or people that you normally come into contact with wouldn't expect, or what they wouldn't do themselves. You're sort of there could be more of an impulse just to be different, you know, like that Apple phrase, think different, which is an unnerving phrase in and of itself because it sounds like it should be like think differently. And so it's like challenging. You right now are probably challenging people simply by being free as you can be. And that's all you got to do. And it just doing that is sort of challenging other people's understanding of life. I don't know what else to say about this. I feel like this is probably one of the easier houses to have this transit, but if not, please let me know. I mean, on a more mundane level, this could also be something where there's an unexpected contact with people who are foreign or from different political backgrounds, organizations who are international, or it could be unexpected travel where you have to get the money, or you decide to work overseas or something like that. So there could be lots of things going on here, but overall I would see this as like opening the doors to a lot of different possibilities that maybe you never even realized were possible. And now it's like, wow, I didn't even know I could do that. I didn't even know that was an option. And now it seems that it is. All right, so now I'm going to move into the 10th house. So what kinds of things could you be experiencing when Jupiter and Uranus are in your 10th house? So the 10th house is the house of your public reputation, often associated with your career, because our career is, when we go out into the world, the 10th house is opposite the 4th house. The 4th house is our personal life, and the 10th house is our public life, our prestige, our clout, our worldly achievements, for example. It's our LinkedIn page, that type of thing. Or just like what we are known for, the legacy we're going to leave behind. And, the legacy that we're building throughout our life. And with Jupiter and Uranus here, like, you might be drawn more to careers at the moment, or wanting to expand on a currently existing career in a way that is just thinking outside the box. Something that is unusual. You could have unusual career interest at this time, like or just wanting to get involved in something also technological. Uranus has to do with technology and innovation. It doesn't have to be technology, but innovating could be all sorts of things. It's like you're looking at the world around you and you can see some sort of futuristic vision for what is needed, and you want to be involved in preparing the way for that, like thinking ahead to the next generations. I want to provide, some sort of futuristic vision and help map out the way to get there in a way that is, Jupiter, a blessing to other people. And it could be in particular in mind of things that are Taurian in nature. So Taurus has to do with commerce. Commerce sort of affects everything, right? It has to do with the enjoyment of life. I would say that here there's a desire to be involved in something career-wise that makes an impact, makes a wide impact. Jupiter wants to make a huge impact as much as possible. But there's an understanding here that I'm going to have to destabilize. Uranus wants to destabilize what currently exists so that you can prepare the way for that wonderful future where you want to sort of give back. So that I think there's a strong humanitarian urge here of like, I need to be involved in some sort of work that really has a humanitarian impulse, that really wants to make a better world, basically, for other people. And maybe even, thinking about your own family and how do I want to make a better world even for my own family, etc. So I think that's basically all I have to say about the 10th house here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. All right, so those of you who are watching and have this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction at 21 Taurus happening in your 11th house, what can you expect? Well, first of all, the 11th house is a house where there is, it's a house of wish fulfillment, for one thing, but it's also a house that has to do with our understanding that we're weird. You know, like we're weird and it's hard sometimes to feel like we belong. We look around at the people around us and we're like, okay, I don't always feel like I fit in. There's always a desire in the 11th house to find those with whom we belong, groups of people who we belong with them. And, you know, it could be a network of friends. It could be some sort of organization that you're involved in. It could be like your interest in getting on the internet and finding people who have a shared interest in mind and discussing that with them. But you need to get together with big groups of people or people who are connected via some sort of shared interest that brings you together in the 11th house. Jupiter and Uranus here are probably just really intensifying that need and helping you to see the blessings and the opportunities that are available to you the more that you do that. With Taurus here, it's like engaging in that, finding your people, finding your tribe, finding those who you really can like settle in with and be your weird self and like they get you, right? Going to Star Trek conventions or whatever, if that's your thing. Like that gives you a sense of peace and stability, which is ultimately what Taurus is seeking. But there always could be a sense here with Uranus in particular of, you know, the pathway to getting to that point of finding your tribe or whatever can be, you know, it's either a choice or if you're not making that choice, Uranus will kind of make it for you and destabilize your own sense of security in some way. So you could lose a friend group at this time or decide to leave an organization that you've been involved with in favor of a different one. Or you could just have, I don't know, like dramatic interactions with friends or people who you've come together with as a group. But these, even if you're having difficult experiences here, Jupiter is saying, okay, but I'm trying to, with Uranus here, I'm trying to open a doorway for you that maybe you wouldn't have considered before. Joining an organization or friend group or going to a meetup or something that normally you wouldn't have thought of doing. This is the time to do it. All right. So let me know if you have any other experiences that relate to this in the comments below. I'd be glad to hear it. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the 12th house. Okay, so for those of you who are having the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction at 21 degrees Taurus happening in your 12th house, what could this mean? Well, I would say, so first of all, the 12th house is like the house of the unconscious. It's the dream world. It's the world of our imagination where we can envision what currently doesn't exist. We can, you know, daydream. It's the house of sleep, right? When we're asleep, we go into this whole universe that doesn't exactly exist, and yet it seems so real to us. It's the house where we can have our most mystical, ephemeral experiences. It also can be a house of escapism, where we numb ourselves to reality, or we take substances, for example, or engage in meditative practices to take us out of the everyday reality in some way. It's a house of transcendence. It's a house where we can connect with the astral realm, with the spirit realm, with other dimensions that are not tangibly real, but that are real in a more ephemeral sense. So what happens when Jupiter and Uranus are here? I feel like this is going to be a very interesting time for you because you might have some really profound dreams or profound signs or omens or like spiritual experiences, supernatural phenomena that really just blows your mind, opens your mind. You know, I think that what would be troubling about this is that, you know, you have Taurus here in your 12th house, so you do have a sense of stability and security with those types of things, perhaps more than other people. But even for you, some of the experiences you could be having right now could just be like, whoa, like, I don't even know what to make of that. But Jupiter is opening a doorway here for you because Jupiter is understanding that, you know, along with Uranus, your mind is capable. Your mind is capable of having these experiences, and there are doorways of opportunity here for you. in order for you to understand greater truths about what is life anyway? Like, why are we alive? What is any of this all about? And sometimes it could just bring you more questions than it brings answers, but I think that it will bring you a lot of answers as well. You can have very interesting experiences, for example, with spirit guides or like I said, just like mystical experiences that open your mind to your connection to the divine, your connection to God, your connection to the other side. For some of you, this could bring nightmares or disturbing sleep patterns that you have to contend with. And I think that for something like that, if you're experiencing it in a more difficult way, I would recommend, working with like clearing your chakras and things like that so that you can open them up to these experiences, because there are lots of blessings and opportunities here to be had, and to make sure that you're doing a lot of psychic cleansing and psychic protection as well of sort of your auric field. But this could be a time when you really make some really wonderful spiritual leaps and bounds. So let me know what kinds of experiences you're having. I'm curious for anyone who has this happening in their 12th house. It sounds kind of exciting, but it could be a little bit disturbing as well. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.